Have archaeologists discovered chariot wheels at the bottom of the Red Sea? The only archaeologist that has ever made this claim is a man named Ron Wyatt, who's not a real archaeologist, but he has published this image. And we have at least two problems with Ron Wyatt's claims. The first problem is that this is not what the Egyptian chariot wheels looked like from this time period. And the other problem is that other people have gone and explored extensively the bottom of the Red Sea and have uncovered nothing. Now, as it turns out, we've got lots of evidence from Tutankhamun's tomb as to what the chariot wheels would have looked like. Tutankhamun, of course, lived about 100 years after the supposed Exodus. According to 1 Kings chapter 6, the Exodus was in the middle of the 1400s. So the spokes in Tutankhamun's time period would have been roughly similar to the spokes and the wheels of Moses' time period if it was true that Moses exited during the 1400s. And of course, what do these wheels look like? They look nothing like what was in the image. You find what is likely a solid cast hub, and then you've got gold or bronze laid wood. The rest of this wheel is all made of wood except for the outer portion. The tread is likely made of wood with some pitch or some bitumen on the outside of it to give it grip. But this looks absolutely nothing like what was published by Ron Wyatt. In fact, Ron Wyatt's image looks like a product of modern manufacturing. A solid cast metal wheel would be wildly expensive and wildly impractical. And in fact, we've got other chariots. Here's a picture of a damaged chariot from Tutankhamun's time period, came from his tomb, and you can see that it was made of wood. The outer portion and the inner portion of the wheel was all made from wood, and the spokes themselves are metal overlaid wood. And this makes perfect sense because even prior to Tutankhamun, we have instructions on how they were making such wheels. We don't know what these wheels were specifically made for, but whether it was a chariot wheel or a wagon wheel, the construction would have been relatively similar. This particular construction has bendable pieces and flexible tread going on the outside. And then there are mechanical links between the spokes and the actual wheel. It's not one cast metal piece. And as it turns out, exploration teams have been looking for stuff at the bottom of the Red Sea for a very long time. There was a report done by the Egyptians in the 1930s. You can read it. It's published by the Royal Society of Publishing, and it is free. You can access this free of charge, and you can see exactly what they found at the bottom of the sea, which was a whole lot of nothing. And they did look at the bottom of the sea because if you read the report, they actually went and they did mapping of the sea. They looked at the seabed and they created a model of the seabed. And you can read that in the report, The Egyptian Exploration of the Red Sea. And not only that, modern explorers have been there in 2021 and 2023. We had two expeditions that went there from Ocean X, and they published all of their findings as well. And funny, there are no charioteers and no chariot wheels, but they did spend 960 hours of underwater research mapping square kilometers of 1,500 in the seabed with a 3D resolution, and they published their pictures and their findings, yet not a single chariot wheel down there. So next time you hear this claim, just be aware that this comes from a man named Ron Wyatt, who wasn't a real archaeologist. He was a nurse anesthetician, and he had no training in archaeology, and none of his findings were ever verified by real archaeologists. None of his findings were ever actually published anywhere. He just took pictures or made pictures of random things and claimed that they were the thing that he said they were. He also claimed to find the blood of Jesus, the Ark of the Covenant, the Ark of Noah, Sodom and Gomorrah. What's more likely, that this untrained archaeologist wannabe discovered every important artifact of the Bible, or that he's just lying, and that the rest of the archaeologists know it, which is why all of them have outed him ever since the 80s. Even Answers in Genesis have many articles written up about this guy, claiming that none of his finds are actually validated, and in fact, they're hindered by actual historical study. For example, at one point, he claimed that he had coins that he dredged up from the bottom of the Red Sea that were evidence that many people were drowned in the Dead Sea. But coins had yet to been in existence for 1,000 years. The first coins didn't show up until about 500 BCE. So there's no way that Egyptian coinery was going to be found at the bottom of the Red Sea to evidence the Exodus. Ron Wyatt doesn't even know history, much less archaeology.